I was thinking, why they pick me to talk today? I am a geoscientist by degree, and I work as a nuclear safety specialist. What do I know about limits? What do I know about transportation? I've got to get up here and talk at this TED Talk. Well, I'm going to give you this presentation. At the end of the presentation, I want you to make the decision for yourself whether I'm qualified to talk about limits. So let me start off with this little bitty story. Several years ago, I won't say how many because I won't age myself. I was in graduate school here studying hydrogeology at the University of Tennessee. Go Vols. And in the Earth and Planetary Sciences program, we used to do social gatherings, picnics, if you will. And so I decided I was going to go, like, I'm in school. We're going to go get some food, and it's free, and I'm hungry, and I don't have any money. So I go to the picnic, and I say hi to everybody. And then I see this little old white lady, and she walks up to me, and she says, "Syreeta." And I looked at her, and I said, "Hi, ma'am." You know how you say when you don't know who they are, and you just want them to keep going? She says, "Of course you don't know who I am. How could you know who I am? It was so many years ago. I was your nurse at Sarah Moore Green Elementary School." I looked at her, and I tell you, the wind was knocked out of me. And I started to cry. And she started to cry. But I bet you don't know why we were crying. When I was 9 years old, I lived in an apartment here in East Tennessee, and it was deplorable. I didn't have food. There was no running water. I didn't have clean clothes. I didn't have anything. And my aunt, God bless her soul, decided that she was going to come up with this plan at Sarah Moore Green Elementary School where she brought me fresh clothes to school. And when I got to school, I was going to take a shower and I was going to eat so that I could have a good start to the day. And that nurse, every day when I got up to school, she'd say, "Come on in here, Syreeta." And me and Toe, 9 years old with my little brother, would go into the main office. We would take a shower. We would put on fresh clothes, and we'd eat. And that's the start I needed. All I needed was some fresh clothes. All I needed was some good food, and all I needed was some love. And that nurse, that teacher, gave me all of that so that I could get started on the day. So we're going to move to the next slide. So what is a limit? A limit is a boundary that somebody has set, the furthest point that you can go, as high as you can reach, right? And transportation is getting from one point to another. I just told you that story. We're going to move to the next slide. Let's talk about statistics. Statistics. There's a lot of words that define who I am. I was raised in a single-parent home. I grew up in low-income housing. I don't know my father. My mom didn't raise me. I'm Black. They want to call me African American. I'm underrepresented. I'm a woman. I'm a minority. Statistics want to tell you that these limit my potential. That in some kind of way, these labels decide how far I can reach and how high I can go. How in the world could little bitty Syreeta from Knoxville, Tennessee, be a geologist? What is a geologist? How could I be a scientist? I'm from the inner city. But I want to tell you that this community helped me. Everybody around me, they didn't give me limits. Those definitions didn't limit me. When I was in 7th grade, Mrs. Williams, she talked about geology, and she said, back in geological years, Tennessee used to be underwater. I was like, this lady is crazy. She is crazy. And that the continents moved, and that bones made fossils, and fossils could be in rocks. I thought that was real interesting, Miss Williams. Can I talk to you a little bit more about that? Miss Williams said, yeah, come on, let me talk to you. So she brought me, and she gave me a little book, and she said, guess what? You could be a geologist if you want to. If you want to go to college, you can be whatever you want to be. Those words didn't limit me. So I wanted you to think about this. When I was young, growing up in the inner cities, I didn't know what rich was. I didn't know if rich was $20,000 a year, $1 million a year, $1 trillion a year. I didn't have anybody to model to me what rich was. I didn't know that geologists were white boys. I just knew that I wanted to be one. And nobody told me I couldn't be one. I said, I want to be a geologist. So guess what? I got to decide whatever that was going to look like. There were no limits to a geologist. I got to decide what rich was going to be for me because nobody limited that to me. Let's move on to the next slide. You see those statistics. Society wants you to believe that I believed in those stereotypes. Poor me, I had free lunch. Well, everybody in my school had free lunch. I didn't know you paid for lunch. Poor me. I grew in the inner city. Well, everybody that lived in my neighborhood, we all went to the same school. We didn't know we were supposed to be ashamed. We didn't know what they were living like across town. All I knew is that if I studied hard, I'd get good grades. And if I got good grades, I'd pass and I could go to college. If I went to college, I could get a good job. And if I got a good job, I could be rich. And right here in East Tennessee, my community showed me that. My friends didn't limit me. My teachers didn't limit me. My professors didn't limit me. They didn't say, well, you know, if you want to be a geologist, you got to break that ceiling. Where is the ceiling? I've yet to see it. Where's the ceiling? What does it look like? So if I'm going to inspire some future STEM student, I want to tell you, you're not your statistic. Doesn't matter what color you are. Doesn't matter what race you are, what sex or gender you are. There's no limit to what you can achieve. Nobody's defined it for you. If you want to be a journalist, write your butt off. There's no limits. So let's move on to the next talk. They want to tell you that because I'm the only one in my classes, I was the only one, always the only one in the physics class, only one in the algebra class, only one in the calculus class, that by some magical moment that limited my capability. But I want to tell you this. If only 2% of STEM professionals look like me, there's a room full of 100 people, there's only 2 black women in that room. You want to tell me that limits me? Well, let me tell you something. The other 98 are probably white boys. They probably all grew up kind of the same. I'm not saying they didn't have hurdles or limits or things that they had to come across. But guess what? They probably kind of think alike, right? Probably kind of think the same. But they don't think like me. They haven't grown up with my experiences. So I like to challenge to you that I'm already out of the box. The role of a scientist, of a STEM professional, we know what doctors do, we know what lawyers do. Everybody knows what they do, right? Well, what does an engineer do? We solve problems. I don't care if you're a geologist, I don't care if you're a chemist, a physicist, an engineer, your job is to solve problems. And the first thing they tell you when you go to work is to think outside the box. Well, I'm one of 2 in the room, I'm already outside the box. I got all y'all beat. So let's go to the next thing. If you give me the ability, I already have it. If I get the opportunity, which everybody I've come across has given me the same opportunities, and I have the desire or the dream, can I achieve it? Yeah. Those definitions or descriptions didn't limit me for the potential that I was going to be, where I'm here today. They didn't put a boundary or a ceiling above me that said you can't be what you want to be. So the next point I want to tell you is, guess what, Alana? You're already outside the box. You're already outside the box. If you're a woman in that room and you're one of 2, you're already outside the box. So all you have to do is dare to bring you to the table. And when you bring you to the table, they're going to want you at the table the next time. And they're going to want you at the table the next time. So, am I qualified to talk about without limits in transportation? I want to tell you that those statistics that define my present back then, they didn't get to define my future, because my future was without limits, because I'm already out of the box. I got this community supporting me. I got that nurse that's hugging me 20 years later. And I've got a dream and a desire to capitalize on every opportunity that comes across my way to be the very best that I can be. And so that's all I got to tell you today. Believe in yourself. Thanks.